Yo, the kids official sliding on the instrumental. Nordic combos, twist your mental like forbidden.
Peace to the public and power to the people.
What up, world? You are now in tune with the space where the vulnerable are powerful and where the most gangster thing you could do is serve. Welcome to All the Way Live.
This is in the All the Way Live show, man. We do this show every week. We say this is a space where fully curated content is brought to you by my brother Miles, by myself, and by our producer Hassan, who we could not do the show without at all. Couldn't do the show without our producer, man. And we do this show every single week for a host of reasons, but no reason is greater than the fact that we know people are out there going through Miles. Every single day, someone out there is probably faced some of the darkest things they're facing through. You know, maybe they just need a little bit of encouragement to get through that day, to get through that week. And that's the energy we cultivate for y'all. Just so you can come here, get a bit of this positive vibes, go through your week, and then also learn about some cool artists like we'll do today. And maybe learn some smart stuff that you can women with. Come on.
No doubt, man. There's mad reasons to tune in, never more so than today. So make sure y'all smash that like button, that subscribe button, comment, do what y'all got to do. Join the conversation.
Hey, this week, man.
Our bad.
What we doing? What we doing? Are we doing the show again? Are we starting the show again? Listen, they know the show's all the way live. We're human. We're human. You know what I mean? Nah, we have a really packed show today, man. It's gonna be very exciting. We got special guests. We have topics that we're talking about. Mr. Miles Xavier. When we say that, you tell us something that this show is down for. What we got.
Man, this is a very special place. And before we get too much further into the show, we got to tell you where we coming from with it. So shout out to the UK, man. The UK is definitely in the building. Shout out to our boy Hassan, our producer. Shout out to you, Zway. You know what I'm saying? Namibia is definitely in the building. Hot as it is. I see you over there glistening. You know what I'm saying?
Really? That's not glisten. That's not glisten. That's sweat.
That's right. Zway is Sweat. You Zway Sweat for this episode, man. I know you missed the R&B Keith Sweat, Zway Sweat today. And y'all already know what's going on this side, man. Chicago is in the building. This podcast is recorded on stolen land. This land was cared for by the Potawatomi people, the Council of the Three Fires, and the violence done to remove those First Nations people from this land is inseparable from the violence that we see in Chicago today, the violence that we see in this country today, and the violence that we see in the world today. Can't do nothing with it until we acknowledge it and confront it. So that's why we lift up love on this show. Love, period. Love for Black and brown folks around the world. Love for First Nation folks around the world. Love, love, love first. Love y'all out there, man. With that, that's how you know the intro's over. Zway, let's get into the show.
Yeah, I get that, but is we live though? Is we like all the way live though? You heard?
We tell you guys that this show is exactly where impact meets art. And we do not that. And this is one of those rare shows where a dose of both. We have artists and impact all at the same time. As you know, my brother Miles in Chicago is a community organizer, an activist, a leader in his community. Our brother Hassan gives his time to creatives throughout his own city. I myself as an activist, and we run a foundation, Mandulo Foundation, that is dedicated to helping kids from Chicago to the south side, to the south side of Johannesburg. We've been doing that a few years, handed out millions of meals at this point on our record. Really and hopefully feed million handouts meals at the end of this. It'll be great. Do a few other cool things in between. Brother Miles, with all that, tell about some impact spotlight or anything you've been doing in your community.
You know, man, can't downplay the work that's going on for sure. Always grateful to be able to move around, deliver some meals to some families. Always grateful to be having conversations about some exciting things going on in the tech space. You've heard our laptop drives in the past, getting tech to kids in the form of scholarships. We got big things coming. So if you want to get involved, if you're in the tech space, if you have any used equipment, we know how to get that into the right people's hands. So hit us up, man. Hit us up to get involved as well. Shout out to Hassan throwing up our call for volunteers. You can help out whether you're in Cape Town, Joburg, Chicago. We can give you something to do. That we can do. We can definitely get you involved and give you a way to help and support folks, whether that's delivering food, whether that's supporting some of the other programs that we got going on. So hit us up to get involved. I know some of y'all out there need them community service hours. You know what I'm saying? This is an amazing way to do that and an amazing network to tap into. So Mandulo, man, you know how it goes.
They know exactly how it goes. They know exactly what we do. And what we do, which I think today is a very special show, is that we built this platform so that because we saw how much creative people in our circle, we have so many friends, artists who are these very beautiful creators that we admire and we want a platform to be a place where they come through and talk about stuff. And today is a day that we're super excited because we get exactly people who've been watching for a while throughout Hassan. Miles, who do we got on the show, dog?
We are super grateful to have Zeki on the show today. Yeah, man. Mad applause, air horns, all that, man. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, good. Thank you for being with us. If we can just kick it off just by letting you introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Zeki. I'm a rapper from Northeast London. I'm in Exeter right now, at Uni in Exeter, but home is London. So
nice, no doubt, man. Shout out that Exeter space. Brought Zway and Hassan together. Brought us you. That's love, man. That's love. So I got a bunch of questions for you. Zway and I are hip hop heads. We definitely want to dive into your process, what your journey's been like. I'll let Zway kick that off.
Yeah, man. All we want to know, which is super fascinating, because I've gotten to see you grow over last year. And I remember we had a conversation where you were saying excited you are for this because you really want to dive deep into your music and you really want to give it everything you could. So if you can just speak at that point, maybe a bit of your journey as how you become Zeki, the rapper that we enjoy, also where you were at when you turned on that switch. You're like, actually, I'm about to give it my all.
Yeah, I mean, I've been making music for like 6 years, I think, in total. But I mean, it started off when I was like 16. I was just in my bedroom. I had like free software. I was using Audacity. I had like a £20 mic from Amazon I had. So it started off like that. And then I got better software, I got a better mic. And then I think it was the end of, in my second year of uni. So I think 2 years ago in the summer, I went to a studio for the first time, like an actual recording studio. And then, yeah, I ended up taking a year out from uni. I was meant to go back a month, because that was in August. I was meant to go back in the September, but I didn't. I took a year out. I was in London, just working full time. And that was kind of when it switched from being like just a hobby to like, I actually want to do this, because like nothing else brings me as much joy as making music does. Like the personal satisfaction. And I couldn't really see myself doing anything else. And I just stuck with it. Even at uni this year, like I stocked up on tracks while I was in London, so I still had stuff to release when I was here. And I've got my last year uni now, just powering through it. The end's in sight, got a couple months left, and then coming back in London, back on it full time. So yeah.
Dope, man. Congrats on being about to wrap that up over there as well in terms of uni.
Thank you, man.
And shout out to you for following that passion. That's a difficult, choice. And a lot of times we're pushed and told to go the safer route. So shout out to you for following that drive. I would love to know, just like you were saying that making music is the space where you feel happiest. Like, what is your process like? Is it like Do you write in the studio? Do you write beforehand? What inspires you, and what does the process of making music look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to write beforehand. Like I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I don't really like writing in the studio because I feel like it takes, like I usually write in a couple sessions. So if I'm at home, I'll get a beat. If I either find it on YouTube or like a couple of my friends produced, and they'll send me beats, and I'll just write at home and then take it to the studio. But if I'm going to studio with like people, because I go by myself most of the time, but if I go for a group session, then yeah, I'll have to write in the studio. But I prefer to just like sit in my room, have like no distractions, like phone on airplane mode, and yeah, just write until, because with something creative, it kind of comes and goes. Like I haven't
Sure.
written anything. I'll go a month without writing anything, and then I'll write like 3 tracks in a week. So it's because it's something creative. There's a lot of fluctuation, which is why you kind of have to like just if you get any kind of inspiration, you got to just go with it. Like I'll be in supermarkets, in the gym, just like on my notes page, just type in. So you can't wait. I don't like waiting until I get back. Just wherever I am.
No
That
doubt,
makes
man.
sense. That makes all the sense, you know. And that type of meticulous approach that you take to your work, I did want to say it really shows, because when you listen to songs like One More, and you really understand the whole motivation behind it, it's very intentful about wanting more and pushing through, and like, you know, my hate fuck my haters. Sorry, mom. My mom watches the show, you know, but it's really about that overcoming process. And then you listen to songs like Legacy, which also have the same type of focus to it. It really does seem that you are taking a very intentional approach at the message in your music. You say that that message is
Oh, I don't know if Zoe broke up for you too. I heard the message.
Yeah, I had the same.
Run that right back, if you can.
am I back? Am I back? Can you guys hear me? This
Yeah, I
show
can
is
hear you now.
live, because you know we've been keeping this show super live, right? All these interruptions apart, we do this raw. But more than anything, man, the ending on the message is exactly what I would get into, man. Your music has so much. It seems like you're very intentional about the you want to put out in your music. Maybe you can just about that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad it shows. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously music's art. Like your music should be a representation of you as a person, because that's ultimately the way to connect with the listeners. Like if you're listening to a song and you feel like, even if it's only a tiny bit, if you're getting to know the person better, then you're more likely to become a fan, because music that connects with people emotionally is, like, the most successful artists have done that. And the artists that, like the Lil Pumps and stuff like that don't really have that kind of emotional aspect to their music, often their careers there's no longevity in that. So yeah, that's kind of what my priority was always to make sure that like my music was a representation of who I am. And like there's different styles, like obviously like whatever mood I'm in will affect the lyrics that I come up with. So like I have to be in a certain mood to write like a sad song, or a certain mood to write a song to like a beat that's upbeat. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that come into it, but I just try and be myself as much as I can.
Speaking of some of your peers and some other folks in the game, while you're in that kind of creative flow, do you listen to a lot of other artists? And if so, who are some of the folks you listen to? Or do you kind of stray away from hip hop while you're making it?
I mean, the vast majority of the music I listen to is hip hop, and like that's where all of my biggest like influences come from. So Fetty Wap is like my favorite rapper by far. He's been my favorite rapper for like since he popped off in like 2013, 2014. And I think you can definitely, I mean, in my older music maybe, because I was like obsessed, bro. It was literally like all I listened to. So you can definitely hear the similarities. But yeah, in the last few years, I've been listening to a lot of like UK hip hop, like D Block, and my
Nice.
favorite UK act, stuff like that. So yeah, I think like even my accent in my songs changed a little bit, because before I didn't listen to much UK music, so it was my voice was like kind of like a gray area between, it's like American-ish English. But now that I've got like lots of UK influences, I feel like I've been able to stick with that, which is obviously what I wanted to do, because that is who I am. Like I'm from the UK, I'm from London. I don't want to sound like I'm not. Yeah, no, I don't really listen to music. Like when I'm writing, I like to just kind of block out literally all. I like close the blinds, like phone on airplane mode, everything, and just get writing.
That sounds very much like Lil Wayne's writing process. Famously, when he was asked when writing the Carter 3, they're like, "So what are you listening to?" And he goes, "Me, and me."
Yeah,
You know,
literally.
so that is what it is. But speaking of that Fetty Wap era, that 2013, 2014 run was quite
Oh,
insane.
bro, so good,
And
man.
I
So
do
good.
remember Miles and I were in the club during that time. And when Trap Queen played, there was absolutely nothing like it at that time.
Yeah, they used to have like 30 Wap hour at the clubs, man. I was hearing about that. They just play like because he had like so many songs in the charts, but like songs that are going diamond, platinum. That whole album went mad. But, like I went to a club in Exeter on Friday, and they spun a couple Fetty Wap tracks because it's just like he's just like legendary status now. Like those songs are never gonna die.
Man, what a wild time to be outside. That was a
Yeah.
great time to be outside when Fetty Wap was at his peak.
Yeah, that summer was. I think that's why it's still so popular.
Yeah.
Because even when I hear it, I've been listening to those songs like consistently for like 8 years now, and they still bring back like summer memories for me. Because I was in a secondary school, so I wasn't like old enough to go to clubs or whatever. But yeah, man, some serious core memories attached to those songs.
No doubt, man.
You know, we were old enough to go to the clubs at that time, and unfortunately, like I said, my mother listens to the show, so I can't really speak about the specifics of what happened over that summer. I'll just let you know, Trap Queen was lit. Funny enough, off of that Fetty Wap element, you know, what made Fetty so special at the time was his melodic approach to music, which is something that is very prevalent in your approach to music.
Yeah.
You're very melody driven. And when you jumped onto the stream, you know, in the pre-show at the back, we're playing a video of you singing in the studio, and it sounded like there was no auto-tune, there's no nothing. It's just you harmonizing. Personally, for me, I was very impressed at your vocal capabilities, just as is in that way, and that is actually one of like my favorite pieces of creativity that you've put out. It's just even that snippet because it shows your melodic mindset. So. Are you gonna drop an R&B album anytime soon? Now that we know you have these singing chops.
No, but yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of the music I've put out because I've kind of focused on like harder hip hop, but like I'm working on this EP at the moment, and there's a few songs that are more acoustic, more kind of singy. I'm trying to move away from like trap beats and move. I know Hassan is very down for me to do that as well. I'm trying to move kind of more into other genres. But like once I'm out of uni, because I basically I've seen this year as like my life's just been on pause kind of because like music's my life and I haven't been able to pursue that as much as I wanted to this year. But yeah, once I'm out of uni and I'm working and I got the money to properly fund it, I'm going to try and put like a tape together with a whole bunch of different genres. Because like when I was like 8 or 9, like the very, very first music I liked was like rock music, like Nickelback, that kind of like rock. And then after that, I moved into hip hop. So I kind of do want to try and make a pop song, make a rock song, like R&B, maybe just like a acoustic with no beat, whatever, make something like that.
That's dope. Well, we excited for that EP. Definitely keep us in the loop so we can blast that out to all the listeners when that drops. But I'm just tagging on to that point about kind of your vocal ability and also dabbling in some of those other kind of just sounds. I think that all can really lend and really help out when it comes time to perform your music. So let me ask you, what is have you had like in terms of shows that you've done, what has that been like? And then also, is there anywhere that you see as like where that you would love to perform? You know what I mean? Any venues or spots or festivals that you see yourself, if I could do that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a festival goer, but I have been to Wireless like more or less every year since I was like 17, I think. So that would be the dream for me, because that's like it's in North London, like it's literally just it's not down the road, but 4 stops on the tube and I'm there. And I've been going since a kid. Like that would be the dream, like Wireless main stage.
Yeah, nothing like performing at home.
Yeah, I did 2 shows. I did one in September and one maybe October or something like that. Yeah, the first one was like a headline show, so I was like the main act, which felt pretty mad, to be honest. Like had my like a big poster with my face on it and my name at the top, So yeah, that was a nice little taste for what hopefully is in the future. But yeah, no, it was good. A bunch of my friends came. We were just turning up. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, people did come up to me and said like you've actually got a very good voice. Like, wasn't expecting that because there were a lot of rappers there. That wasn't really. I wouldn't call myself like a rapper because it's on more on the melodic side. But yeah, I do love performing live. Like, I love singing my heart out, and there's no better environment to do it in than like on a stage with people watching you. That's
I love that
as
for
good as
you.
it gets.
I love that for you, man. And like I said, I think the big thing that I really enjoyed about your progression is hearing how your vocal abilities keep improving, man. So personally, as someone that is invested through you, through a producer, and as someone that I've met and have spoken with, definitely keep pushing that side. I think that's
Yeah,
that's
100.
really a differentiator for you. And we'll be very excited once you do get on that wireless stage to be like, you saw me first. Zeki touched down on the
Yeah,
live show and has spoken to existence.
yeah, bro. Hopefully, next 5 years, I got high hopes.
Well, we got high hopes for you, but don't get too big for us. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty. You got to come back,
Yeah.
as it continues to pop off. But dope to hear that you've gotten to headline a show. Congratulations on that. That's
Thank you.
amazing. I just one of my last questions that I had that I really wanted to hear from you is like, the game is changing so much so quickly, right? And we kind of came up in a whole different era with like CDs and even with like the online era of downloading music. It's in a different place now with streaming. And so how do you feel about being an artist today? Are you glad that you're in kind of this era and this period, or do you wish that you could have been a part of like the 90s or those 2000s, or even like be having this moment in your career back when Fetty was hot and be alongside him in that type of era? How do you feel about that timeline?
That's something I think about a lot, to be honest. I think if like ideally, if I had been in this position like 5 years ago, I think that would have been good. Because obviously, like, I started recording just with a laptop and a mic in my room, and like studios are so accessible at the moment. Like, music has become way more accessible. But at the same time, like, bro, I hate TikTok. I hate like that whole side of like where the music game's gone. And they used to just send A&Rs to clubs and events and performances and stuff, and that would be how like the next generation got discovered. And now it's just scrolling on TikTok, because I am on TikTok, but like I basically if I post something on Instagram, I'll just post it on TikTok, and that's it. Like, I don't actually make TikToks in the app. I hate using it. It's just, I think that side of it, like, and I'm nothing against rappers that blow up off TikTok. Like, it's obviously a very good tool, and it is free. Like, it's accessible, which is always a good thing. But yeah, I don't like the like how important your social media presence is, because I'm not really a massive fan of social media, like using it. I've forced myself to post on Instagram because I have to. Like, you can't not be on it. Yeah, like 5 years ago. Sorry?
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is uncomfortable. I mean, that's why I feel like the hardest part about being an artist is like the very beginning, because once it picks up a bit, it should pick up more and more and more, and kind of like until it's exponential. But yeah, at the moment, like, I'm obviously doing all myself. I don't have a manager or anything. I would love to just have a manager who can just deal with the promotion side of it, and I could just make the music. But yeah, it's not ideal having to be like super active on socials.
Yeah, you got to play the game. You got to play the game. But the way that you're developing and your willingness to kind of play with different sounds, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. And even in this era, no doubt.
Hey, man, it's absolutely been a pleasure to have you. And it's like you already know what we're going to be talking about through the rest of the show, man. Diving deeper into that whole social media, TikTok, exponenza, So we do want to thank you for already graciously ushering us into that part of the segment. Before you get out of here, man, we like to really give not rappers, sorry, because that's not what you are. We love to give artists just a space to just tell people in a snippet-like format who Zeki is, where they can find you, and what to look out for.
My Instagram is 317Zeki. That's same with my TikTok. And then, my stage name there is my Spotify. So it's Zep and then #KI.
No doubt, man. All the way live. You know, if we bring somebody on, if we welcome them to the live family, it's because we're actually rocking with what they making. So go check Zeki out. That's the stamp.
I believe we have even some videos to be able to check out of Zeki as we go to our next segment. This is Zeki's Wanting More. Check it out.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you for having me.
But I want more. Higher fashion in some higher places, yeah. I need the highlight. Keep my whip clean and my wrist bling, so you can see me, yeah. Go and leave me, see if I can, cause I've been left before. I've been counting money, I'm trying to get rich, so I'm just left here wanting more. High fashion in some higher places, yeah. Man, I swear I need the highlight. I keep my whip clean and my wrist bling, so you can see me shining when I fly by. I'm in my own world, head in the clouds. I'm zoned out when she's speaking, I ain't listening, cause I got picture on my mind, I'm trying to make it out. I want a chain so bright, no light, and it's still glistening. I'm trying to sleep, but my mind is racing, yeah. This anxiety gets crippling, but I can't let it tie me down or hold me back, no way. I got way too much to lose, and bitch, the difference is I got talent inside me. I'm changing lanes to give a fuck about if the feds behind me. I can't let a bitch confine me. No, I ain't speaking kindly. I like to hold on to my trust, I can't just give it blindly. Wake up with a snake beside me. How the fuck ain't no one inside me? But bros, they give it time, be patient, cause you know it's likely. I got a vision in my head and I'm working precisely. She can tell my jacket's pricey. She's screaming fuss inside me. Trust me, I ain't thinking wisely. No, I need a change every day. It's just the same, and man, I'm sick of it. Yeah. Stay in your lane, play the game.
I love hip hop, man. It's always a good day on the show when we can play some hip hop. I feel good.
Always a good day on the show. Shout out to our producer again for bringing Zeki through, man. We really appreciate that. You know, this show, Miles, is about a host of different things, sir. And now we get into the part of the show that requires a lot of research for us, sir. You know, this week ain't different.
This content is carefully curated.
for their cranium. Listen, Miles, let's get right into it, right? Because I really want to speak to you about this right now. We've been covering TikTok and its addictive nature and everything like that for a while. And recently we heard that TikTok has to they want to introduce a time limit for people that are under the age of 18 who are utilizing TikTok now. What's happening?
You know I like metaphors and analogies, man. What's happening? Essentially, what's happening is, you know, when you got in trouble at school, right? Or out in the street somewhere, and you know it's gonna get back to the crib, and you know it's gonna be bad. So you go back to the crib and you start punishing yourself in advance, like before your parents have a chance to be like, nah, I ain't even watching TV this week, y'all. I gotta rethink my priorities, you know, in the hopes that you could punish yourself enough that they'll be like, oh, wow, look at him being responsible. You know, he got it handled. He already learned his lesson. I think we're seeing TikTok attempt to do that in the wake of some lawsuits, in the wake of growing concerns about TikTok's mental health on children. They're trying to get ahead of it, is what's happening. Is it working for you?
I don't think it would be fair to limit the addictive nature of TikTok to just children, because clearly it's one of those things that's extremely addictive for everybody that utilizes it. That's why it's become so popular. Now, I, for one, stand on the side that the popularity of let's get our conspiracy hats real quick. I'm gonna put on a conspiracy hats and do-rags. And I think what this really comes down to is that the addictive conspiracy do-rag
is hilarious.
I think what really comes down to is that TikTok is just absolutely killing when it comes to the competition in the market, you know. And if you have to think about where TikTok is getting banned and where the limitations are coming in, namely that recently the US Congress had stated that employees of the White House or government employees have 30 days to get rid of TikTok off of their laptop, off of their phones. The same thing has been done in EU and in Taiwan. So there is there is almost a concerted attack at TikTok's availability within the EU and US, and it's been veiled as for privacy issues. That's the whole chat. They say, nah, it's it's the quote was, it's a Chinese spy balloon on your phone, is what one of the congressmen was heard saying.
That's extreme. Also, yeah, not sure what happened with all them balloons that was getting shot down. Need to run that back, follow that up.
Yeah, wait, what? What happened to those balloons?
Right? I don't know. Is it connected? Conspiracy do-rags on tight today. No doubt. No doubt. But yeah, man. So I actually don't know how seriously to take the allegations about the spyware, right? From what I've seen of TikTok, it's mostly 30-second dance clips to pop songs. And so from that perspective, I'm not sure what they would be watching or capturing that is of all that much value to the Chinese, unless they are just really trying to get all these dances down and they're taking over the dance space. So more thought and research, I think, required, at least on my part, for that aspect. But like Instagram, like a lot of the other apps that we see out there, the impact that it's having on people's, right? Children, adults, everybody that uses it, like you said, users, the effect it's having on users' health is definitely concerning. And not only the effects it's having on people's health, but how addicted people are to scrolling, how much time they're spending scrolling through all of this short form, short attention span content, I think is my biggest place for concern with this.
Your concerns are justified, right? There is a huge correlation between the amount of time that we spend on social media with addiction, with suicide, with depression, especially towards young women. We've seen that, right? And just considering the average amount of time that people are spending on their phones, and then realizing that TikTok is one of those applications that a lot of people spend their time on, specifically young kids, leading to more ADHD. Those concerns are warranted. My issue, right, is that it's kind of being drawn as if that is the main issue of why TikTok has to be banned. Is the addictive nature of it, but then also they saying that giving access to TikTok into the US is giving China a backdoor into US data and US data information. But that's not necessarily true because, let me not say that's not necessarily true, but that's not necessarily unique because companies like Facebook, like Google, like Instagram have all been shown to be very exploitative with the type of ways that they utilize their data. Now, if we can tie our conspiracy do-rags even more tighter, brother, and you're willing to walk down conspiracy do-rag alley with me, if you really think about it, right? I think there's two things. The first one is the timing. If you look at the timing, recently we heard that Facebook and Instagram are going to be completely changing their user interface and the user experience, where Facebook is no longer going to show you pictures of your aunt's, uncle's mother and grandmother, because that's the only people that use it. It's now going to be algorithm based, right? And then Instagram is going to move more so to be more like TikTok in its video styled format. So if you look at the competition of TikTok and how they've been performing, notably very poorly over the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden when you want to change your product into what that product is, they have to get out of here. My conspiracy do-rag is a bit tight on that one, I must say.
Yeah, well, we know corporations gonna corporate. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna try and get their money, protect their bag, protect their investments. Is it a coincidence that we're hearing this about TikTok as a non-US based company, but the pressure although it has been applied a little bit to Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, they're not experiencing a collective. It's not a collective moment of looking at all of these companies with the same kind of side eye. I think, I don't think that's a coincidence. But at the same time, I think it's one of those things where when we're doing the right thing for maybe the wrong or monetary reasons, I think it's one of those things where it's like, I actually, rather than saying leave TikTok alone because y'all not messing with Instagram or Facebook, I think it's an opportunity, right? If I'm taking a silver lining out of some shady stuff, to say, let's look at all these companies, the effect that they're having, and actually make moves to take more seriously the effect that they're having on us from a data perspective and from a mental health perspective. And so with that in mind, I think if we can get personal for a second, I don't know whether you're on TikTok. If you are,
I'm not.
You know what I'm saying? I need to follow you because I'm sure the workout videos are even more, high def, interactive on there. You know what I'm saying? So,
And the producer better not pull up any workout videos.
yo, there's if it's out there,
get off of this show. I'll get off of this show right now. I promise.
It's out there. It's out there. It's real. It's real content that has been curated carefully.
Please do not pull, please don't pull those up. I think my dad and mom are watching. I beg you. But I'm not. But like, check. I'm not ashamed. Oh, here we go. I'm not ashamed of it whatsoever. Right? I'm not. Yeah.
And I heard my man's heartbeat through the microphone.
It was a suspense. I think I sweat just a little bit more. But it's not so much right that social media for me is very difficult, right? Although the content flows, I do enjoy the creative ability of it. I love video editing. I love being able to be very creative about things, and also understand that it is a certain element of, and this not in a negative connotation, of lifestyle promotion, just so that people can see the work that we're doing. I think we're doing a lot of work, and for me personally, the ways that I like to help people and share that is through my creativity, is through my healthy lifestyle, and is through the manner that I help people, and then put that out there so that someone has something to model after themselves. It keeps me honest, and it keeps me knowing, like, there's you can't drop the ball, because there's also people who you have led towards this certain lifestyle as well. So be honest to yourself, be honest to the process, and share it with people.
I mean, I actually look up to you as somebody who's been able to use social media in some of the ways that I wish I was more comfortable with. I'm an overthinker when it comes to anything that's going to sit out in the public space. And so social media from that perspective is very difficult for me. I've ended up using it mostly just to as a meme based way of maintaining friendships. You know what I'm saying? I know the type of music or content and stuff that is going to make my homies laugh. So that's what I dish that out so we can link back up. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I mostly use social media. But it's been interesting, because even TikTok was like a be careful what you wish for type of lesson for me. Because I remember before it blew up, I was on Instagram and I was frustrated. I was like, when they figure out how to integrate music into this, and I can play and I can share music in a short, quick way, in a way that's directly connected to my videos, they gonna really have something. And then TikTok popped up, and I was like, oh yeah, nah, this ain't what I wanted or thought. And mostly that's because it's so short form. Like, a lot of times when I'm spending time on, even it feels like on Instagram, I'm seeing stuff that's reposted from TikTok. And whenever I'm in a stream like that, I just feel like this is bad for my brain. You know what I mean? Like, it almost feels like I can feel the dopamine hits, and it feels like artificial contentment. And so I think just from that perspective, I still try and keep a certain distance from social media. But I would love to hear a little bit more, like, what that's been like, right? From your gym exploits to Uncle Jams, which is a persona that I'm very glad exists and is out there and is sharing playlists with us. Shout out to the new playlist you posted just earlier this week. Where has that growth been like, and where are you kind of at with social media as a user? And then if we can think about, like, you know, what would you say to people with kids, or even when you think about potentially having kids one day, what would you want their engagement to look like?
We all have to draw our own lines of discernment with our relationship with social media, right? I used to be of the school that the only way to really like promote properly or be able to take the narrative of take control of your own social narrative is by taking control of it and posting and deciding on what image is going to be of you, because what you put out is what people can find, right? But I'm more so now learning that that's not necessarily a requirement of influence, impact, or whatever the case is. It's just an easy way to do it. And a person like myself tries to use every tool possible in order to get the message out. And if that does come at the uncomfortability of my social preference, because I am an introverted person who, much like yourself, overthinks a lot of things when I put them out, like any creative does, is realizing that if what I'm putting out is not necessarily for me directly, and there is an element of it where it's either trying to help, inform, or promote something noble, then it's easier in order to get into that routine of sharing. And then there's the creative side, man. I really do love creating videos and creating playlists and just finding different avenues of being creative. And this is just another one of those creative toys to be able to play with. And that's how it's been.
Bless you.
Thank you. But something that's interesting, right, is and I wanted to mention this before we get too far past the point, is how successful that combination that you have mentioned of music and videos has been together, right? A term that I came across while doing a lot of research on this particular topic is GPC, which is Great Power Competition. And great power competition is where countries are at competitive odds with each other, and the nature of business and how it's done between those two parties and the people that are within within those businesses are the tools of are the casualties of war in a great power competition. And I only bring this up because it's going to be a term that's brought about a lot as we go into the 2024 elections in the US, and is really going to form a lot of the foreign policy, specifically with China, that we expect to see in the States. There is going to be a decoupling effect that is going to be taking place, where China and the US are going to be moving more and more away from each other. I think this has been shown in the CHIP Act that was recently proposed, where after COVID, they were like, man, all of these computer chips that we have are heavily reliant on Chinese production. Now we're going to take control back and build that in the house, right? And realizing that maybe Russia is not the superpower that has been as feared to be, and it's actually China. And so the US is now slowly moving back towards that. And I think TikTok is one of those things that are being used in order to drive that narrative of China is evil, the data is evil in the background. So part of this TikTok decoupling is because they're after your kids, hide your moms, and hide your husbands, because they're taking everybody's data out here.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing kind of that context into it. And it's almost never as black and white as like this entire group, country, region is evil. And I think that that's more apparent in this story than even some others, where some of the stuff that TikTok is proposing as a response to being banned, or that feeling that might be coming, is actually in line with what a lot of parents are asking for, or trying to implement around making this a safer, healthier space, right? Having to verify your age and having parental controls based on your age is part of that. Warnings to let parents know, like, my account is connected to my kid's account, and being able to know when they're accessing it, when they're logging on. I think that these are actually positive things that we should look at making more integral part of the structure of some of these social media platforms. one thing you mentioned that they haven't started to pull away from, I think because it's so lucrative and it's so integral to their design, is that algorithm piece, right? And part of what makes social media places people at risk in their mental health from using social media is because you're not only shown what you ask to be shown, right? Only the people you're following, but there's this algorithm that produces suggestions that it thinks essentially will keep people like you hooked and on the app longer. And so a lot of those suggestions might be adjacent to things that you're interested in, but can also lead folks down a darker path. It's especially true when it comes to kids and their perception of their own bodies, right? Health and fitness can be dope when it's curated by somebody who cares, but it can also be dangerous when it's, you know, you have a young person that is going through puberty and having their hormones raging and, you know, trying to find a way to be comfortable in their body, and the messages that they're receiving are actually for adults and actually talking about body types that are more developed and regimens that can only serve a person that's in that more developed space. And so I'm interested to see how some of these developments, if we actually care enough to make sure that they're concretized in the content.
Is concretized the word, or did you just make that up?
Concretized is a word. I'm using it in a different way, but like, hey, bro.
I'm gonna need to fact check that. Sorry to halt the show like this. That's very, but I'm just playing with that. But I think what you're alluding to is, you know, you mentioned a lot of the things that parents need to be able to know or want to know about their children's activities, and I think that going forward, parents are going to have to be, there's no longer being able to be like, oh man, that's just some young kid stuff and I can't keep up with it. I think parents are going to have to play a lot more active role in their child's social media usage. Now, granted, every child can find ways around these sorts of things, but there is some level of resolve that parents can have in just being slightly more attentive, aware at the nature of the content that's being consumed, and then also on just like on the frequency that it's being used. Something that we've spoken about a lot here, if we're being vulnerable and honest with our platform, is how much pornographic material is on these social media pages, and it takes no time for them to just blast you with something, right? That was actually one of the big reasons why I also try to get off of Instagram, is because a lot of times you just go on there and it's just being thrown stuff into your face, right? And it's like, yo,
something else was getting like concretized, right?
All right, look, man, let's go ahead and end this segment. Let's end this segment, please.
Yeah, we can add another entry. Yo, no, I think that's actually another really important piece. Like, I would be terrified to give a young person that I care about a cell phone. Like, no cap.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Because you are relinquishing all control over what they are exposed to. And that's so crazy, because like in doing research for this, a lot of the things that I pointed out in terms of options to make these spaces safer, kids are already 3 steps ahead of getting around them, right? I was reading stories where they got apps to turn Instagram into a calculator app. So when you look on your phone, it looks like it's the calculator. Then you click it and you in Instagram, right? Kids creating 5-6 dummy accounts to be able to only hit their time limit on, you know, one of their accounts, switch over to the other one. And, you know, that is really scary, because I think what it says is that, you know, as parents, as adults, kids are going to find a way to get to, they are using their brain power not to think about why these restrictions are in place, but always to get around them. The silver lining of that is, I think the only solution is to develop such a good relationship with your kids that either they're being honest with you about their use, or you can have conversations about their use and about like why these restrictions are in place in a way that they respect, right? And I think for better or worse, that is where this is pushing us to, is a space where that relationship has to be so good with your kids, because the content that's there for them will swallow up their whole attention if you're not actively pulling them back towards the path that you want them to be on. So spend time with the kids, man. Take them outside.
I agree with that. But I also think that more importantly than that, Miles Xavier, is that it's not necessarily just about the kids. It's about us, dude. We are addicted to these tools, and I think that having a more honest relationship with these things is the way to be able to go about it. And us having a healthy relationship as is, spending time doing digital detoxes, that sort of thing. So before you even go about starting to talk to your kid, look at your own relationship with social media, see what that's like, and then try and change that, because kids just mimic everything it is that they see.
No doubt.
As two men with no kids said.
Yeah, but I mean, I have in my work, I get to be with middle schoolers and high schoolers a decent amount, and it's a win anytime I'm speaking with them, engaging with them, and there's not multiple phones out, right? Like, I feel that struggle in the classroom. I feel that struggle in after school programs. I feel that struggle in the summer programs that we're using. And I ain't gonna lie, I have been shocked. I don't consider myself a very sensitive person, you know what I mean? But I have had kids bring me content on their phones that I think I'm too young for. You feel me? So I just, it's something that I see happening. Not a parent yet, but I've been labeled a pre-parent by some of the parents that I work with, in the terms that, like, I do want kids, and I am thinking about what, like you said, what my own habits will show them and say to them about how to move. So it's never too early to start being the person you would want to be for your kids, and the person that you need to be for yourself, and the person that you needed when you were a kid.
And the person that me and Miles are trying to be is somebody that covers and gives you guys carefully curated information on a weekly basis. And a lot of things that we put out in the show are very helpful, very useful, but none is more popular than when me and Miles talk about hip hop. They love that. They love when we do it, and it's their favorite part of the show. So with that being said, and without further ado, producer, take us there.
You can intro us. I'm gonna just look up concretize real quick. Make sure that's will work.
That we can't do. Can we please get the definition of concretize? Because it's been used 3 different ways, and one of them was offensive.
Can y'all read that? Y'all can't read that. To make an idea or concept real, or to give specific or definite form to.
You said that louder than you had to. You said that louder than you had to. You put a little bit of sauce on it. But that being said, Miles Xavier, we're not here to fight, me and you, because fighting was done by Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors in Creed 3. And this week, we get to be able to talk about the soundtrack that came along with it. Can I get vulnerable?
Please do.
Can I get honest?
Yes, sir.
We weren't supposed to really even review this album at all. We had another album that was lined up that we spent the week listening to. This album only dropped 2 days ago, and yesterday, in the middle of night, in the Live House group chat, Miles Xavier sent a message, and that message said, "Listening to the Creed 3 soundtrack, man, halfway through, it's not that bad."
And that was enough. I like that though. I appreciate that my opinion carries that weight with the chat. You know what I'm saying? We don't always agree on what's hot and what's a jam, but I'm glad that y'all did give it a listen, because they don't make soundtracks like they used to. We knew it was coming out when we decided that we were going to review something else, and I just didn't feel like a soundtrack. I didn't have faith that a soundtrack was going to be something that topped a regular rap project. And whether it's better than that other project that I don't want to say, we'll get to it. But it remains to be seen. But it was definitely one of the better soundtracks I've heard in a minute. So shout out to Dreamville for that.
I think you're still being very coy, man. I think you really are still being very coy because when you said it's just all right, and I went into it, I did expect it to be just all right, but it's more than just all right. You know what I really like about what's happening these days is we saw Black Panther tap Kendrick and TDE to do the first Black Panther soundtrack, which was super super dope. There's some great artists in there, and this seems like a continuation of that. You know, you saw Pharrell score, you saw Pharrell score the Minions, and now you're seeing actually like a whole new different approach on soundtracks. What?
Nah, just the jump from Black Panther to the Minions to Creed 3. I wasn't expecting the Minions to come up in our conversation today, but that's fire.
I'm highlighting all minorities.
What? Let that breathe.
Listen, man. So I think the cool thing about what's being done about this is that there's a new approach, man. They're giving these hip hop powerhouses full control of soundtracks. You know, there's a few other, you know, if this is the pattern or the new way of doing soundtracks, there's some hip hop collectives I'd love to hear from. What does a Griselda soundtrack sound like, right? How cinematic is that?
Just want more Griselda, fam.
We all want more Griselda, but also what I want more of is praise towards this, because I think the Dreamville guys are doing something very interesting. If you actually go through the feature list, right? You got Reason, you got Mez, you got Simba, you got Westside Boogie. You have a lot of the people that were actually featured. Baby Rose. You have a lot of the people that were actually featured on that Dreamville recording, the open recording session that they did a few years ago, where they just sent out a bunch of invites. They're like, we've rented a house, we're recording music, come through, come do it. And I think almost geniusly, this was a setup for the type of people that they'll work with down the line. So it's great to see Buddy on this, great to see Sir on this, Tierra Whack, Cause, Mez. This is a really, really good soundtrack, man.
Yeah, everybody gets a chance to shine. I thought Ari's joints were standouts. Greater, that song is crazy. Even the Talk to Me joint later, like I was a little disappointed by the Big Sean ESTG track, but I didn't have super high hopes for that one from the jump. I like My Boy. That might be one of my favorite JID songs that I've heard in a minute. Blast is out here going crazy. Blast is making some very good music. Jack with Buddy, that was a surprise. Some very dope. You know, sometimes you see a track list and you know that not everybody who you're excited for is going to deliver, but this was one of those rare times where I was continuing to be like, oh, that was probably the best song on the album. Oh, no, wait, that might be that one. Oh, nope. And even 12 tracks in, songs are surprising me with how much care and how well they're put together. And I can only imagine that once I get a chance to see the movie, the feeling for the album only increases. So this was dope. This was very well done.
Yeah, man, it's got a lot of my favorite artists on here. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm glad that ESTG on there. I'm not glad that it was next to Big Sean. I love the fact of how Mez, man, that Mez is a serious problem. I think Mez is really, really talented, and Mez kicks off a lot of these Dreamville albums. You've seen him do it before, but to have Mez, to have Reason, to have Simba, they really are showing that this is a collection of the spitters of the spitters. This is the best of the best out right now, and this is who we're rocking with. I would have been great to see some Baby Keem on here. I think that would be really interesting. That would be my only other addition to it. Some Rashad would have been great too, but then again, like Miles says, I just want more Rashad and more Griselda.
No doubt, man. What did you think of Cole's the Cole track on here?
It sounded very it was very 50 Cent. Adonis interlude. I think he borrows that bop from early 50 Cent, and then you hear him change it up. I think it's a flow and formula that never fails. And even though he's doing like a very repeated style, he added a freshness to it. And obviously, when Cole speaks, you got to listen. So Cole's just good enough to take an okay idea and give it content and structure that's entertaining. What you think?
I liked it. I'm a little bit Cole has a habit of picking classic beats and like delivering one verse on them, right? I'm thinking of the Lil Nigga snippet from the Revenge of the Dreamers 2, I believe. He's done that a few times. And so I wish he had given us a more complete song rather than just like that interlude, but it was hard. It was dope to hear that Dr. Dre, The Watcher sample, or like it's essentially just that beat flipped, and it was actually Dre that came back to flip it. So just to know that Dre is still Dre, no pun intended, to know that Cole is still so many projects in, so many years in, still able to put a track out on an album with some of the youngest and freshest faces in hip hop and still be one of the standouts, but not disrupt the flow of that type of project and that youthful energy, I think speaks to his versatility. And I mean, if nothing else, this was supposed to be a good song for the movie and to make Mandem excited for his next project, The Fall Off. And I think it definitely did both of those things.
That album that calls Bringing Up The Fall Off?
So, one more time?
Is Cole's next album The Fall Off?
Yes, that's the name.
Interesting. I mean, it works, man. It works. And if I have to go ahead and just highlight some of my favorite tracks, I really do think like the first half of this album is almost unskippable, man. From track 1 to 11, it really goes in well. My boy, a great standout. I do like The Culture. I do like Headhunters. I do like Jack. Those are some of my favorite ones so far.
Headhunters is definitely one of my favorites. I was surprised to hear Agoro Goro. Yeah, no, I think I had it right the first time. Straight like that.
You did it, but go on.
That
Agoro, dude. There's no A in there.
I said Agoro. Whatever.
You did not say that.
I didn't. Whatever. I can't get them all right. You know what I'm saying? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But that Afrobeats influence, I was surprised by, and it made me think about: are we going to hear more artists like Boss? Right? Typical. I won't say typical rappers, but rappers that pick more typically hip hop beats start to shift over into that lane because world music is taking over. And it was really interesting to kind of hear that here, especially as part of a soundtrack, especially as part of a major blockbuster movie, to hear that sound kind of creep in. It's everywhere. So that was an interesting one for me. But Headhunters is a standout. Jack, Culture, my boy, that Adonis joint, and Greater by Ari Lennox are probably my highlights. How do you rank this? Do we rank this like a regular album? Is it just a good soundtrack? What are you giving this?
I give this a 4 out of 5. I think I'm giving this a 4 out of 5.
I'm with that. Nice solid 4 out of 5.
Really good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shout out to Dreamville. Shout out to, and it's not an easy thing either to make so many artists, pull so many artists together in a good creative space where it sounds like everybody's having fun. This album, I wish I could have sat in on the sessions for this album because it sounds like there was fun being had behind the scenes, creating some of these sounds in these projects. So shout out to them.
Hey, and shout out to y'all, man, if you've been rocking with us to this extent, because we know.
Oh, man, we know y'all could be anywhere in the world. We know it is part of your Sunday that you are dedicating, devoting, and listening to tuning into us if you're with us live, wherever you might be checking us out, SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining the celebration of celebrating, the celebration of life, the celebration of how good it feels to have on a conspiracy do-rag. Don't it feel good, Zway?
Keeps my waves tight.
No doubt. We hope y'all waves is tight. It's a wavy world out there, man. Whether you on the high point or the low point, this show is here for you. Comment, join the conversation, eat something delicious, hug somebody you love. Like that, we gone.
Yeah, I get that.